there. For those that don't know me, my name is Amy. I am 32 years young. I am a mum of 4. I have a stepdaughter that is 17, 2 daughters 7 and 5, and a son that is 3. I thought I would make this clip to answer some frequently asked questions that I get as an egg donor. Particularly in Australia, I found there's a lot of information about American egg donors, but not so much information about Australian ones. I have done 4 rounds of IVF. I have done 1 round of IVF for couple number 1. They have a baby girl. I have done 1 round for couple number 2. They have a baby boy. And I have done 2 rounds of IVF for couple number 3. And I'm hoping they have good news too. So I also have 1 more cycle up my sleeve for couple number 4. So I feel like I've got a little bit of information up my sleeve. So yes, I just thought I would answer some frequently asked questions. Question number 1. What made you think about donating your eggs? This is a fantastic question, and I wish I had some really profound answer for you. However, I think it came to me after I'd had our second child together, and third combined. I did think about it. It did pop into my mind, and from the tiny bit of research that I did, it was suggested that you had finished your family. That is absolutely not a prerequisite, but they encourage you to be finished just in case something goes wrong. And I knew that maybe we weren't finished just yet. So after my son was born, he would have been, I want to say, about 10 months old, and I looked into it again. And at that point, I had pretty much decided that this is something that I wanted to do and to move forward with that. So I did a lot of research. I joined a group on Facebook called Egg Donation Australia. That had a wealth of information. You've got people that have donated once, twice, and veterans that have done it so many times. So that was a great starting point for me. I spoke to 2 of my friends that had done IVF in the past. So I just kind of wanted to get a feel for what my body was in for and what my mind was in for. I know it's a very different thing cycling for somebody else. There's a lot of different emotions involved, particularly, for your recipients, plus you're on another end of the scale. So yeah, I don't know where the initial idea came from, like prior to me even looking it up. I have a feeling it had something to do with a television program I may have watched once. So there must have been something sitting in my subconscious that went, yes, this is the time to bring it out. I guess I feel like I'm a helper. That's the kind of person that I am. And I was thinking, well, at this point I was 29, almost 30, and I thought, I've got eggs, they work, I'm young, I should be giving them to people that need them instead of wasting them. The next question is, was your husband supportive? Yes, that's the simple answer. The time that I had done the research, I hadn't told him that's what I was researching, and I came to him and I was really skeptical about whether he would be on board. I mean, I guess I have to take into consideration the fact that I'm giving away the genetics of our children. I'm not handing out, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but I'm giving somebody else the genetics link to our children. So I was a bit apprehensive about getting his support. So when I told him that that's the road I wanted to go down and what I wanted to pursue in order to help other couples have babies, he looked at me pretty much and said, it does not at all surprise me. He said, that's kind of the person you are, so it doesn't surprise me and you have my full support. I think along the way, he has learnt what a roller coaster it can be. Once again, I don't want to take away from the fact that these recipients have been on one hell of a roller coaster. And I'm just joining them on their ride, and it also becomes a bit of a roller coaster for me too. So I think he was a little bit underprepared for the effect that would have on me, not only mentally, but physically as well. So yes, but short answer, yes, he was super supportive from day dot. The next question I get all the time. And I think it's a really difficult one for people to understand. But a question I frequently get is, how much do you get paid? I get paid nothing. So in Australia, donation has to be altruistic. I can never say that word. So we are never and not allowed to be paid for our donation. In saying that, the next question I get is, oh, then you're out of pocket. No, I'm not out of pocket. They have to pay all medical expenses to do with my donation. So anything to do with traveling to and from appointments, parking for appointments, any costs associated with the medical side of it, everything gets paid by them. So all ultrasounds, all medications, the procedures themselves, they are all paid by the couple or the single, depending on the circumstances. So no, I don't get paid, and yes, all my medical expenses are paid for, and this is an Australia thing. State to state, there are so many different legislations, but Australia-wide, eggs in Australia, donated in Australia, cannot be paid for. The next, this is a comment that I get, the comment is, you must have had good pregnancies. This is purely, I laugh because it's purely because people don't really understand the process. So my pregnancies have nothing to do with donating eggs. I think people think that I'm a surrogate. So a surrogate is a person that carries and grows the baby and then will hand it over to the couple or the single at the end after birth. But as an egg donor, my pregnancies have no bearing on my egg quality. So yes, no, I did have good pregnancies, but no, they have no correlation to the donation themselves. So I do have, I don't know, I get low egg numbers in my retrievals. So the process is pretty much, it is IVF as if any other normal couple were doing IVF. Which brings me to the next comment I get, which is, oh, so you have to do the needles. Yes, as I just mentioned, I do IVF as if any other normal couple, as if I was doing IVF for myself, as if any other normal couple was doing IVF, that is what I do. I take pre-medications, I inject myself with a follicle stimulating hormone or an FSH. I also then have to do another needle to block ovulation so that you don't lose the eggs prior to collection. I undergo countless blood tests, ultrasounds to see how follicles are growing, and then at the very end is the egg retrieval process, which is a general anesthetic at a fertility clinic, and they pop you under a light sedation or a light general anesthetic, and then they retrieve the eggs. Once that process happens, they will take the eggs, mix it with the sperm of the 3 times that I've done it, it's been with the father, the impending father, mix my eggs, his sperm to create embryos. And with that is then implanted into the impending mother. So yes, I hope that kind of somewhat explains the process in a very, very simplified form. Another question that I get asked are there any limits with donations? Yes, there is. State to state, it varies. This is when the legislation can become very unclear as to what happens potentially in Australia. Because I live in New South Wales, I can start 5 families, 1 including myself, my own family. So that gives me the option of helping 4 other couples or singles to become parents. So I've got my own family, I have my donor daughter, this is where the terminology gets a little bit hazy, donor daughter, not my daughter, but anyhow, my donor son, and I've helped my third couple, so fingers crossed, and then I've only got one more left to go. Some people only donate once. Sometimes it's to people they know. I didn't know any of my couples prior to this process, so I met them through this Egg Donation Australia page. That's how I got started. You just start chatting. It is basically like dating, except you're having, fairly hard conversations straight up front. You are talking about what capacity you see yourself in their lives and what capacity they see in you. They're talking about the cost that they're going to cover. They're going to talk about, the relationship that they foresee with the children, potentially with my own children. So it's hard conversations pretty much up front. But I have had such beautiful relationships form with my recipients. I would call them friends now. And each relationship is different. Of the 3 or 4 that I have formed, they're each different and they're each unique in their own way, and that's fine because this is uncharted territory for them and it's uncharted territory for me too. So, what was my question? Are there limits? Yes, depending on which state. I know other states you can start 10 families, help start 10 families, one including your own. But because I reside in New South Wales, 5. This is probably one of the hardest questions to answer. How do you feel about someone else raising a genetic child of yours and therefore technically a half sibling of your children? This is hard purely because I feel like I haven't charted this territory yet. My donor children are still quite young. The donor daughter just turned 1 and the donor son is yet to be 1. So at the moment, I feel really good. I feel good about the fact that these parents love their children immensely. They have worked and done everything physically possible to have a child. So the love that they have for these kids, it just is insurmountable, like any parent. I mean, honestly, we all love our kids dearly. They might do our heads in, but we love them dearly. So I know that they'll do a fabulous job. I know that perhaps I might not see eye to eye with parenting sometimes, but you know what? That's not my business. I'm not their mother. This is where, as I've said in the previous questions, terminology gets me really frustrated in this industry because I am technically called a biological mother. I am no way, shape, or form a mother to these children. I might be someone special, but I am not a parenting figure. I have my own children, so I don't like that terminology. However, I see where they're coming from. I like to consider myself a genetic contributor. I'm phrased that. This is mine. I've coined it. I'm a genetic contributor. So yes, whilst I might not always see eye to eye with their parenting per se, I know that they have the child's best interests at heart, and as we all do. So it is difficult, and I'm sure that I'll be navigating this, for the next however many years. But I just need to take solace in the fact that these people have worked their asses off to have children. They have opened every chapter of every book, and that brought them to me. So I need to put my trust in them. Another question I get is, do you get to see photos? Yes, I do. Each relationship with each recipient looks different, as I've mentioned before. So one of my recipients updates me on the weekly, and another recipient, it might be quarterly. And so they all look different, the relationships all look different, and that's perfectly okay. We're all navigating it. We're all doing it. So it's highly unusual. It's a highly unusual set of circumstances. So for that, I have to be understanding. They have to be understanding. But yes, I do get to see photos, and it brings me so much joy and so much happiness seeing them. The fact that their dreams have been fulfilled and the joy that they get from having, a beautiful child, it warms my heart. The whole thing when I first started this process and my husband and I were talking was I was going to remain anonymous. I was just going to donate my eggs. Might I add, anonymous in Australia for egg donation almost doesn't exist. It's you go on a database and those children can access your information at the age of 18. So I was talking to a counsellor about, the whole premise of we were just going to donate and then just back away. I didn't want to know whether a baby was born or not. Just here's the eggs, take them and run. Once we started counselling in my first donation process, the counsellor then said to me, it's in the best interest of the child that I stay involved, because you don't want them growing up with an identity crisis. You want them to be able to say, what does she look like? How many children does she have? What are her interests and her hobbies? What's her personality like? It's in the best interest of the child to know my characteristics. So they grow up, it's part of their story. That's who they are. That's how they came to be. They were conceived using an egg donor, and that's them. And therefore, it's normal. That is who they are. So they said, the fact that keeping a relationship with the recipients is a good thing so that that child can have access to me and access to information, and I'm just part of the story. And once she said it like that, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, well, that's not what I was planning on doing. My whole theory was, here's my eggs and see you later. But it made me reassess that it's in the best interest of the child. So, as I said, anonymous donation in Australia, in egg donation, I can't speak for sperm, is that it's almost not anonymous. And even then, if you choose to donate and not have anything to do with the recipients, or the recipients choose to cut you off, the child still has access to a form that you filled out prior to donation. So I filled out a form for all 3 of my couples, and I will be for my 4th, that has identifying characteristics of me plus personality traits. What do my parents look like? So they'll have access to all of that once they turn 18. But I'm hoping it won't come to that, because I've kept a relationship with all my recipients and they know that they can contact me at any time, and I can contact them too. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful for those that are having a little bit of a hard time understanding what egg donation in Australia looks like. I just thought it was helpful to, inform and educate around egg donation in Australia. As I said in the beginning, I found lots of information about America, which they do things a lot differently to here in Australia. I love the way that we do egg donation in Australia. I definitely think there is room for improvement, but on a whole, I think that the fact that we're not paid, we do this because that's the kind of people that we are. Not big noting ourselves. I get a lot of comments as well, sorry, digressing for a second, about how amazing I am. I feel very flattered, but I don't think I'm any more amazing than the next person. And we all, as I like to point out, we're all good people. We all do things that help we all should be doing things that help other people. The fact is, I can donate my eggs, and therefore I will. But some people are environmentalists and they are changing the world for the better. People are nurses and doctors and are looking after us. I just think this is just my way of giving back. This is the way that I see is as helpful to the world. I've actually just decided, I feel bad even putting this in a video and therefore having it as ammunition later on, is that I've just decided that fertility is my passion. I love fertility and I love the happy outcomes. Don't get me wrong, there are tons and tons of heartbreak and disappointment and anger, but I'm going to go back to uni and hopefully I'm going to study science so that I can become an embryologist and start making babies in a lab. And that can be my bit once my donation days. I'm going to have to retire soon. So my donation days will be over, but hopefully I'll be able to help people still have babies. But yes, we all do things, you know, everyone helps individually. This is just my way of giving back. So whilst I'm highly flattered at that comment, it also makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable because I am no more heroic than my next door neighbor. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, I think you can like comment or write a question, and if there's enough questions to ask, I might do another video and therefore answer some more. Anyway,